Live reports on Southwest Washington football come from reporter Bryan Levesque. Check out GSHLFootball.com for more. The Fan Postgame Scoreboard Show continues on ESPN Sports Radio 1080, The Fan.
Bryan Levesque, GSHLFootball.com, been hanging out at Doc Harris Stadium all night. The Camas Papermakers, the Mountain View Thunder. Camas up early at halftime, and Bryan joining us now. How'd this one turn out, Bryan?
Well, it turned out 31-0, ended up being the final. Like you said, Camas jumped out to a 28-0 halftime lead. I mean, we're not really shocked. We really had no idea how this one was going to turn out. We didn't anticipate a blowout, but we didn't know one team might win by 14 or 21 or the other team might win by 14 or 21. But Camas made it very clear early on that they were able to pass the ball, and Mountain View could not stop them. Quarterback Tony Gennaro to wide receiver Jonathan Warner. Again, his dad, Kurt Warner, played for the Seahawks. A lot of guys are familiar with him. And Jonathan, he was dominant out there tonight. The Mountain View defensive backs had no answer for him. Even when they had a clear, they held him up on a post corner that he got off it and got a touchdown. And the referees didn't call him pass interference on him, which was ridiculous. But even when they were holding him, they couldn't stop him. First half, Camas had 270 to Mountain View's 60 yards. And, I mean, they just could do nothing. Gennaro ended the day 14 of 23 for 191 and 2 touchdowns. Warner caught 10 of those for 131. And then, you throw in Zach Marshall, last year's first-team All-League running back. He ran the ball, had 114 yards rushing on, he had, 8 or 9 or 10 runs or something, but he was his usual shifty little Barry Sanders-like self out there. So it was, tough game for Mountain View. The thing was, both teams are really well coached. Camas had the advantage in the players, and they just clearly both came, and played their best football, and Camas's best football right now is just a little bit better than Mountain View's.
Well, we've seen Camas, get that much closer, just inching steps closer, getting to that elusive state title compared to some of the other teams that have made deep runs. Do these guys have the skill and the size necessary to bring home that 3A state title?
Well, in a normal circumstance, if you compare, if it was a thing where you had true, not necessarily parity, because there's not true parity, but I would like to say yes. I mean, this team has the talent to play and go far. Unfortunately, in our state, at the 3A level, which is the equivalent of your 5A level where Sherwood plays and stuff like that, we have a couple of teams named Lakes and Bellevue. Now, Lakes came down here. Lakes is ranked number 2 in the state. They have legitimately 9 or 10 Division I, true like BCS Division I athletes run around on that field. They played Evergreen. We'll touch on that real quick. It was 49-0, middle of the second quarter. Evergreen punched one in right at the end of the half, make it 49-6. It was a running clock the whole second half. That was the final. Guys for Lakes were walking in touchdowns. Levant Littlejohn and DJ Dozier. Can Camas beat that team? That's going to be really tough. And then the other team who's ranked number 1 in the state and number 15 in the country would be the Bellevue Wolverines, who won like 11 state championships in the last 13 years here. And they actually were up north taking on the number 1 4A, which is like your 6A Skyline team, and they ended up beating them like 31-17. And Skyline last week roughed up Liberty, who's one of the better 3A schools, 62-21, something like that, 62-20-something. So if you're following my logic here, is Camas good enough in normal circumstances to make a deep run? Yes. Are they close to the teams they've had the last 5 or 6 years? Yes. Can they beat a Bellevue or a Lakes? Man, that's asking a lot.
Well, we look around the rest of a busy week, too, in the Greater St. Helens League, 2A, 3A, 4A. I know there's some interest in a big matchup, Prairie and Hawkinson, that there's a lot of interest in around the station at least. So what are some of the other scores you have coming in tonight from the Greater St. Helens
League? Well, the
Prairie-Hawkinson
game, yeah, because basically Hawkinson, the Hawkinson town, we call it like, I don't know what we call it, I forgot, but there's like a gas station and like in a house in the town of Hawkinson. It's a lot of just rural farmland. So those kids used to have the option to go to Prairie or Battleground. Most went to Prairie when they opened the school 7 years ago. They took a big chunk of Prairie's population, so they kind of have that natural rivalry there. Unfortunately, Prairie has just too much speed in wide receivers, Jesse Zolk and Tyler Villa and Ansel Cecil, and their quarterback, Colin Seitz. Those are 3 really good kids that would play on any team in our league that they would be at. and they jumped way out on Hawkinson and ended up winning 55-7. It was 42-0 in the second quarter. Just that speed that they had, and the thing for Prairie is they don't have the big offense and defensive line, so when they play a Mountain View or when they play a Camas, they'll get dominated up front. They can't get the ball to their receivers, but if they can play a team that doesn't have a dominant line, you can't stop their receivers. And then
elsewhere in the Greater St. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say the other game that jumps off the board to both here and Paul Valencia from the Columbian. He's sitting right next to me writing his stuff. We both were in agreement on this one. That it was kind of a shocker. A lot of us had picked Columbia River to go up to Kelso and beat Kelso, but none of us picked Columbia River to go up there and beat them 40-12, and having had led 40-0 in the third quarter. They just straight kicked Kelso's butt. And one of the guys, again, another guy you just had Dirk on before me, that Dirk's big on, and we're big on here too, is a junior running back out of Columbia River who's like 6'2", 195 pounds, runs a 4.5 40, and will run over anybody in the league in Remick, Milwaukee. And he ended up having 3 touchdown runs, 25, 50, and 2, set up a 4th touchdown for them. That's who actually Camas is at Columbia River next week. I still don't think Columbia River has the depth. I think Camas's defense can shut down a Remick, Milwaukee, but I think that's definitely going to be one of the better games next week in our league.
All righty. Bryan Levesque, GSHLFootball.com. I know not only can you get all the scores and analysis, but your crew doing a great job filming games as well. If you're curious about any of those, you can go to GSHLFootball.com, and the game film gets put up pretty quickly.
Yeah, we got HD video highlights. We're going to have Washougal beat Columbia 56-0. We got HD video of the Prairie over Hawkinson, the Columbia River game. RA Long beat Hudson's Bay 21-0. We don't have film of that. We're going to have film of Battleground 54-13 over Fort. Battleground won one game last year in double overtime at home against a 0-9 2A school, which is 2 levels below them. They played River tough last week, and then they just beat Fort Vancouver, so we're going to see good things out of Battleground. We're going to have HD video of the Camas game. Union beat Enumclaw 42-7 after being down 7-0. Unfortunately, we don't have video of that. Richfield beat Woodland 27-20. We don't have video of that. Heritage is playing Mark Morris right now. We will have video of that, and then we'll have video of the Lakes Evergreen game, as short as that will be.
All righty. Well, Bryan Levesque, we will talk to you next Friday night, getting all caught up as we start to see some more league action between the 2A, 3A, and 4A levels. Bryan Levesque, GSHLFootball.com. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next Friday.
You bet. Thanks, Swag.